I am grateful to the people of Tharparkar. I've been there twice to basically not to contest an election or to win an election in Tharparkar or Umarkot. Just for your information, I contested the 2013 and the 2018 election in the district of Tharparkar and the district of Umarkot, where she's coming from. I lost both my elections over there, but I have no regrets. I have no regrets because my objective of going to Tharparkar or to Umarkot was not to win an election. I was contesting for my home constituency in Multan, and I returned in 2013 and I returned in 2018. The reason I went to Tharparkar and to Umarkot, the areas that you are working and the people that you're working with, was simply because I saw deprivation. I saw how nature was hard on them and how the system had ignored them. Perhaps the area that we are talking about, and these ladies sitting in front of me are representing, is perhaps the most deprived, the most neglected part of the country. If you look at the development allocation, it's negligible. And the money that has been allocated, the way that has been pilfered, forgive me for saying that, the way the system and the corruption within the system has siphoned off limited resources is very painful. You see deprivation. You know, when I was traveling up and down Tharparkar and Umarkot, obviously for my electioneering, one of the things that people wanted the most, you know, education is important, health is important, obviously they're important, but one thing that they asked for was clean drinking water. Now that's the biggest demand in an area which is desert. Clean drinking water. It has a direct impact on every family, on health conditions. A lot of people suffer dire health conditions because of you know, contaminated water. So all they want is clean drinking water. Unfortunately, 7 decades of independence and consistent elected governments of Sindh have failed to give them clean drinking water. The people are hardworking, they are talented, and if given an opportunity, they can rise. And allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce Mr. Murid Rahimu, who's sitting here, who is a civil servant, belongs to Thar, educated himself, went through a competitive examination, and has risen to this level. The reason I have pointed him out is that if you give the right opportunity, people in Thar can rise, and they can serve their area. Who would understand Tharparkar or Umarkot more than him? Who has lived in a village, who has relations over there, who has family, and can understand the suffering of the people. An educated sophisticated bureaucrat from Karachi would never understand the pain and the misery that he can relate to, because he is from the area. You're talking of climate smart agriculture. You're talking of food security. These are both very important subjects. Today, climate is having an impact. It is having a global impact. And a country like Pakistan will vacillate from floods to droughts. We have, at times, so much water that we are inundated and we suffer. And we have shortages to such an extent that provinces are in an acrimonious relationship due to scarcity of water. I was listening to a press conference being made by the spokesman of the Balochistan government on how Sindh was depriving Balochistan of its water needs. And I hear representatives of Sindh complaining about Punjab, how Punjab is depriving Sindh of its water needs. And I hear people from Khyber Pakhtunkhwa talk about not being able to utilize the water allocated to them under the 1991 water record. Since we're talking of food security, water is important. Since we're talking of Tharparkar and Umarkot, water will always remain important. Pakistan, as a country, the pendulum has swung from water affluence in the 1950s to water scarcity in 2021. And the situation will get worse. It's a question of time. Until and unless we start utilizing our scarce water resource smartly and more prudently, this will become a serious challenge. It will become a serious challenge for food security because there is no shortage of land in the country. The main constraint in agricultural growth and in food security today, in my view, is water and not land. It will also have an impact on interstate relations. And as Foreign Minister of Pakistan, I do know how important water will be in future dialogue with India. How important water is going to be while we're sitting and talking to our friends in Afghanistan, because we share common water resources. So water and the importance of water cannot be highlighted enough, in my opinion. So this German NGO contributing to this awareness, I'm grateful to the German Embassy for having supported an event like this, for undertaking advocacy, for creating awareness within educating people and telling them how to utilize their limited resources optimally. I'm grateful to NARC and the agriculture scientists and experts for giving us the solutions to our peculiar problems. Obviously, the ordinary farmer does not understand, cannot produce the kind of seed that is required, cannot treat their livestock unless you guide them, unless you help them. You're the experts, and you know what water stress can do. I'm told that 40% of livestock in Tharparkar and Umarkot was affected this year because of water shortages. And people live off livestock, grazing animals and living off animals. Today, you go to Karachi, the financial capital of Pakistan. You go to any Kachi Abadi from Thar living, because jobs are required, because they cannot be absorbed in within their district. They're hungry, they're famished, and they go out to seek employment. Drivers, cooks, menial jobs are being undertaken by them because there is lack of opportunity within their home district. And yet, Thar is one area which is rich of resources. If you look at coal, it has a huge deposit of coal, which we now are beginning to tap to fulfill the energy needs of Pakistan. People will extract. The corporate sector certainly will make money, and they should. I do not grudge that. But what are they plowing back into Thar is equally important. Are they investing in education, particularly women education? Are they investing in health? Their casualties, mother and child casualties, the mortality rate in Thar Parker is very high. The malnutrition is obvious if you look at the child, a Thari boy or a girl, you see stunted growth because of malnutrition. That's the area that has been talked about and is being discussed in this meeting here today and tomorrow. So climate is important. How vulnerable we are to this climatic change, the sooner we realize, the better equipped we will be for the future. Food security is a challenge. One of the causes of food inflation in Pakistan is productivity. If we just bridge the gap between the progressive and the subsistence farmer, our production can be doubled, and we will be surplus in practically every crop. Last year, we had to import close to 4 million tons of wheat. That's a shame for a country like Pakistan. We import edible oil. We had to import sugar because there were sugar barons wanting to fleece the people by artificially jacking up prices. And who suffers? The ordinary citizen suffers. So, if you can help in increasing their productivity, it will be a great service. You'll be surprised and shocked to learn that most deaths in Thar are not on account of crime, snake bite. People die because, they can't be treated. Women giving birth to children die, and the mortality rate is very high because there are no hospital facilities. There are no trained midwives. Go to the hospitals over there, the RHCs and the BHUs, and you see perhaps there's a building over there and there's no doctor. And yet on paper, people are posted there, disappear is for us to really assess and address. So ladies and gentlemen, you are talking of an area which is very deprived. 50% of the population, and correct me if I'm wrong, Murid, of Tharparkar is Hindu community. The bulk of the minority, the Hindu minority in Pakistan, is concentrated in the districts of Tharparkar and Umarkot. I know that because I've mingled with them, you know, and I've worked with them, and they're good people. They're law-abiding people. They're good human beings. We have to protect them. We have to protect their temples. We have to give them the freedom of worship. If we expect our mosques to be protected in India, we have to protect the temples in Pakistan. I honestly advocate that. Here is a big minority that is contributing to Pakistan. They're into trade. You know, the bulk of rural trade in Sindh and in parts of Balochistan is controlled by the Hindu minority. They lend money. They lend money because the formal banking sector doesn't exist. And people have to rely on informal institutions, on the middleman. Obviously, at times they take advantage of that. They charge them more than they should, and they pay them less than they should. But that's the system. We need to address that system. And for that, awareness is important. Education is important. Let me share one very painful experience with you. When he came into office, I requested the Prime Minister to travel to Tharparkar to see for himself the deprivation and the misery of people. And when I went there, you know, there were demands made. As a Prime Minister, I have just one demand. Give the people drinking water. Life flows from water. The Prime Minister was very magnanimous, he was very generous in his announcement. He made an announcement. The tragedy is, since it was made by a government which did not, since the party in power in Sindh did not see eye to eye with the PTI government at the center, they have refused to implement those projects. Who has suffered? Ordinary Tharis, people from Umarkot, that they represent. They've been elected. Through this workshop or this seminar, I appeal to the elected parliamentarians of Tharparkar, they belong to the PPP. To the elected parliamentarian of Umarkot, they belong to the PPP. Forget the PTI, forget me. Serve the people who have elected you. They have put you into office and you are depriving them of clean drinking water. Is that representation? Please revisit your approach and help the people. They have given you ample opportunities. Pay them back. And pay them back by giving them their rights. And rights to life, rights to food, right to education is an important right. It's a fundamental right. Let's not deprive the people of Tharparkar and the people of Umarkot from that basic right.